The city was broken. Buildings stood like bones, black and burning. Sky was full of smoke and ash, sirens screamed. And the ground shook again and again. War had come to the alien world, and everything was dying. Even the wind carried the sound of crying. Jace, a human mechanic, walked through the dust with his toolpack slung over his shoulder. He wasn't here to fight. He was here to fix. His ship had broken down just outside the city, and he came in to find parts. But now, looking around, he knew he made a mistake. This place was not safe, not anymore. As he stepped over a fallen metal sign, he heard it, a soft sound, so quiet it almost disappeared in the wind. It was a baby. Jace froze, heart pounding, eyes scanning the wreckage around him. Again, the sound came weak and broken. A baby's cry, covered by smoke and rubble. He followed the sound until he saw her. An alien woman lying near a pile of burning crates. Her skin was silver blue, glowing faintly in patches. Blood pooled under her body and her arms trembled as she clutched something close to her chest. A baby, small, wrapped in torn cloth, with big violet eyes, blinking at the sky. She was barely breathing, and her mother looked worse. Jace rushed forward and knelt beside them. "I'm not here to hurt you," he said, raising his hands slowly. The alien woman coughed blood, but didn't pull away. Her eyes met his, full of pain and fear and something else. "Hope, please," she whispered, voice shaking. "Take her," Jace blinked. "What? Why? She will die here. They will come. Please, human." Tears rolled down her cheek as she held out the child to him. I don't even know what to do with a baby," Jace muttered, staring at the small creature, but something deep inside him told him to take her. Something inside him couldn't say no. He gently reached out, took the child in his arms, and felt her tiny fingers curl around one of his. The mother smiled through the pain. "She is not just a baby," she said, her voice fading. "She is light, made flesh. Keep her safe." "What's her name?" he asked softly, but she didn't answer. Her eyes closed, and her head dropped to the side. She was gone. Jace stared at her for a long moment, heart heavy. Then, suddenly, a loud buzz broke the silence. Hover drones, enemy drones, were sweeping the area. Scanning for survivors or targets, Jace ducked behind a metal beam. Cradling the baby close to his chest, he felt her warmth against him. Soft and strange, not like any human child. Her skin shimmered slightly, like stars trapped under the surface. The drones passed over, but he didn't move. Not until the sky was quiet again. "I can't leave her here," he whispered to himself. He looked back at the mother one last time, then stood, holding the child tight. Dust swirled around him as he ran back toward the edge of the city. Toward his broken ship. Jace didn't know why the alien mother chose him. He didn't know what made this baby so important. But he knew one thing: he couldn't let her die. He would fix his ship, hide her, and get off this planet, whatever it took. The baby stirred and made a soft cooing sound. Jace looked down at her and whispered, "You're safe now," but deep inside, he wasn't sure. He wasn't sure at all. Far above, hidden in the dark clouds, a black ship hovered silently, watching, recording, tracking the human and the child, and somewhere deep in its cold metal heart, alarms began to ring. The target had been found. The wind howled across the wasteland. Jace wiped sweat and smoke from his face as he pushed the door of his ship open. The baby in his arms let out a soft whimper, her tiny hand clinging to his shirt. Inside the ship, it was dark and quiet. The smell of oil and burnt wires filled the air. "Welcome back," the ship's old AI voice crackled. Jace didn't answer. He moved straight to the small storage unit in the back of the ship. Carefully, he opened a hidden maintenance panel under the floor. It was a space he had used before to smuggle parts or hide tools during customs inspections. But now it would be a crib. He laid the baby down gently on a folded blanket, her violet eyes blinking up at him. "What am I doing?" he whispered, sitting back and running a hand through his hair. "She's not even human yet. Something about her eyes." They made him stay. They made him remember, a long time ago. He had lost someone, his sister, during a factory accident on Earth. He had been too late to save her. Now he had a second chance, maybe. Jace powered up the ship slowly. The engines groaned. But the diagnostics flashed green. He had fixed most of the systems before entering the city. Now, he just had to get away before someone came looking. As the ship lifted off, Jace kept glancing at the panel where the baby lay. She wasn't crying now, just staring up, calm and quiet. Too quiet, in fact, almost. Aware a few hours later. As the ship flew through empty space, Jace sat in the cockpit. Tired but alert, he checked the radar, cleaned his hands, and finally allowed himself a moment of silence. Then something strange happened. The control screen blinked. Navigation lights changed on their own, shifting from red to green, even though he hadn't touched them. Then the AI said something it had never said before. "Unauthorized access detected in core memory room." Jace jumped up. Eyes wide, he didn't even have a core memory room. His ship was a junker, barely holding together. But the AI repeated it again. "Unauthorized access detected." He ran back to the storage panel. Opened it. The baby was still there, lying quietly. But the ship's systems were glowing slightly around her. Wires above the panel had changed color, pulsing softly with a faint blue light. Jace stared in disbelief. "Are you doing this?" he whispered. Of course, she couldn't answer. But then the ship's AI spoke again. "Code spike registered. Pattern unknown. Lifeform interface detected." "What does that mean?" Jace asked the AI. "No match in human database," it replied, requesting external analysis. "No, don't send anything out." Jace snapped. He shut down the transmission signal and cut the comms line manually. He didn't know who might be listening, but he had a feeling they were already looking. Suddenly, a sharp beep radar ping. A small drone ship was trailing them. Unmarked, silent, not close enough to attack. But definitely following. Jace cursed under his breath and shifted the engine to low pulse. The girl was special, too special. She had connected to his ship without wires. Without tools, he had never seen anything like it. Back in the old days, there were rumors, whispers of biotech experiments done by fallen empires, mixing life and machine, fusing alien DNA with energy itself. But those were myths, weren't they? He couldn't shake what the mother said before she died. "She is light made flesh." Jace leaned down and touched the baby's cheek. "You're not just a baby," he whispered. "You're something else." He knew then he had to protect her. No matter what, but to do that, he had to know more. He needed answers. And there was only one place to go. The Outer Rim held an abandoned station called Red Moon. A junkyard of ships, forgotten tech, and broken people. But hidden inside was an old friend, a woman who used to be a cybernetics engineer. If anyone could understand what this baby was, it was her. Jace set the course and shut the panel again. Locking it tight, he looked out the window as the stars stretched into lines. Behind him, a drone kept following. Silent and steady, and far away, in a black room filled with screens. A voice whispered, "The mechanic has the girl." The space around Red Moon Station was filled with dead satellites and drifting junk. It was a graveyard of metal, wires, and forgotten things. Jace's small ship moved slowly through the field, trying not to attract attention. He kept glancing at the radar, checking the back. The drone that followed him earlier had vanished, but he didn't believe it was gone. It was hiding like a wolf in the trees. Waiting to strike inside the ship, the baby was asleep in her hiding spot. Her soft breathing was the only peaceful sound. She had no idea how dangerous everything had become. Jace touched the side of the panel gently. "You better stay quiet, Nova," he whispered. Giving her the name he picked last night, or "We're Both Dead," Red Moon Station looked like a piece of a broken moon. The hull was cracked, its lights flickering. Jace landed in dock. See, nobody checked ID here. Nobody asked questions, but that didn't mean it was safe. It just meant danger wore a different face. He carried a small pack and walked fast through the dark corridors. Every now and then, he passed someone leaning against a wall. Watching him, people here didn't smile. They stared, judged, guessed if you were worth robbing. Jace kept one hand near his sidearm and didn't stop walking. He reached a rusty door with the name Mena scratched into the metal. He knocked 3 times, paused. Then knocked twice more. A voice called out. "Go away, it's me," Jace said. "I brought something weird." The door opened slowly, revealing a tall woman with metal arms and tired eyes. Mena hadn't aged much, but she looked more broken than before. She raised an eyebrow. "You still dragging junk around the galaxy?" "This time, the junk is alive," he replied. Inside her workshop, strange machines blinked and buzzed. Screens showed body scans, neural maps, and strange energy readings. "Show me," Mina said. Voice serious now, Jace hesitated, then opened the hidden panel on the baby carrier. Mina leaned in, and her eyes widened. The baby opened her glowing violet eyes and reached toward the lights above. The lights flickered in response, turning blue, then gold, then pulsing gently. "She's doing that, isn't she?" Mina whispered. "Yeah," Jace replied. "And she doesn't cry, doesn't eat much, and never sleeps more than a few minutes." Mena scanned the child quickly, and then backed away, her face pale. "You idiot," she said quietly. "She's not a baby. She's a living key." "A key to what?" Jace asked, frowning. "To power, to control. To ancient tech, maybe even to entire star systems." Before Jace could speak again, the door behind them exploded. Metal flew like knives, and smoke filled the room. He covered the baby with his body and rolled behind a table. Shadows rushed in, armed men with masks and silent boots. They didn't say a word, just moved toward the child. Mena activated a defense field. Blue sparks forming a barrier across the room. "Who are they?" She shouted. "No idea." Jace yelled back, pulling his blaster from his belt and firing blindly. One of the masked men fell, sparks flying from his chest. But 2 more took his place, moving like machines. Nova began to glow, her skin turning brighter and brighter. The lights in the room burst one by one. The masked men hesitated just for a second, but it was enough. Jace grabbed Nova and ran through the emergency hatch in the back. Mina followed, throwing an electric charge behind her to block the attackers. They slid down a service tunnel, landed hard on a metal platform. Alarms rang all over Red Moon now. Jace looked down at the baby in his arms. Her glow was fading, but her eyes still sparkled with strange energy. "She saved us," Mina whispered, breathless. "She scared them." Jace's voice was hard. "They want her, Mina. They'll come again. They won't stop," she said, shaking her head. "Not until she's in a lab or in a cage." Jace looked out at the distant stars through a cracked window. Then at Nova, still curled in his arms. "No," he said quietly. "Not this time." He remembered the mother's dying words. "She is light, made flesh." And now he believed it. Not just a baby, not just tech. Nova was something more, something that could change everything. But to protect her, he would have to go far, far beyond the edge of known space, to the ghost systems where no laws existed, and secrets stayed buried. Jace turned to Mena. "You still have those old stealth drives?" Mena grinned, bruised, but alive. I do. But you're going to owe me for this. I already do, he replied. Holding Nova close, the child of stars had chosen him. And now he would choose her too. Jace's ship floated in the dark between stars. No planets nearby, no space lanes, no signals, only silence, deep and cold. He had taken Nova and escaped Red Moon with Mina's help. Now, he drifted while the stealth drive cooled down. No one could track him here, not for now. He sat alone in the cockpit, the baby wrapped in a blanket beside him. Her violet eyes stared at him, calm, thoughtful, almost wise. She never cried, not like normal babies. She just watched, blinking slowly, like she understood more than she should. Jace hadn't slept in a day and a half, but he didn't care. He was trying to decode the file Mena gave him before they separated. It was from the baby, or rather triggered by the baby's presence, encrypted inside the ship's old memory banks, buried deep, hidden for years. But somehow, when Nova touched the control panel, the file opened itself. The screen blinked once, then lit up with golden lines. A soft voice came through, shaking Jace to the bone. It was her, the alien mother. The one who died in his arms, but now she was speaking. Alive through this recording. Jace leaned closer, breath caught in his throat. If you're hearing this, the voice said, then I'm gone. And you have her? Jace glanced at Novahar's small hands rested against the glass screen. She is not just my child. The message continued, she was created. Born from light and code, born to unite what was torn. The screen shifted, showing images Jace didn't understand. DNA maps, star charts, old symbols from forgotten alien empires. I was part of Project Origin, the voice explained. We wanted peace. So we designed a child who could carry both our blood. And yours? Jace blinked. Confused? What does she mean, our blood? The answer came too quickly. You were chosen, Jace, the voice said. Long before you ever knew, your DNA was stolen from a medical scan years ago. It was matched with mine, and together, a child was created. Nova. His chest tightened. He remembered that scan and accident on an old mining rig, a piece of metal in his leg, a standard scan at a border checkpoint. He never thought twice about it, but now? That scan was used to make a baby. You are her anchor to humanity, the voice whispered. She is our bridge. She can survive both atmospheres, both languages, both minds. Jace stood up, pacing the small room, heart racing. He looked down at the baby. She's mine, he said quietly. Part of me? Nova cooed and smiled, glowing gently in the dark, like she already knew the truth, like she had been waiting for him to find out. But beware, the voice said, tone now darker. There are those who do not want peace. Those who profit from war. They will hunt her, twist her, break her if they can. The screen showed men in suits, ships marked with red symbols. He recognized the drone that had followed him. They are already looking, the voice said. They were always watching. The message began to fade, and the last words struck deeper than any bullet. She is not a weapon. She is not a prize. She is a child, and you. You are her father now. Then, silence. The screen turned black. Jace stood frozen, hands shaking, mind spinning. He wasn't just some unlucky stranger who stumbled into this. He was chosen, used, maybe, but also trusted by a dying mother who saw something in him. Something good, something strong. Nova reached up, grabbing his finger again. Just like the first time, he knelt beside her, tears in his eyes. You're mine, he said softly. And I'm not letting anyone take you. Suddenly, the ship's AI chimed in. Long-range scanner detecting signal unknown vessel approaching. Jace's eyes narrowed. How did they find us? He turned off all systems except life support. Engines stayed quiet. Lights off, but it was too late. A shadow passed across the starfield outside. They were here. Jace held Nova tight and whispered, "We run again, but this time, it wasn't just about survival. Now it was about protecting his daughter." His light, he pressed a button on the console, activating the emergency jump system. The engines roared to life, the ship groaned, and the stars stretched again behind them. The enemy ship fired but missed by seconds. Jace didn't look back. He held Nova close, his voice steady as he whispered, "You are not alone, and I'm not giving up." Somewhere in deep space, a small ship vanished into the unknown, carrying with it the last hope of two worlds, and a father who finally understood what he was meant to be. Arcan Station looked like a broken coin spinning slowly in space. It was huge, old, and patched with every kind of metal. The outer rings were crowded with ship's traders, smugglers, mercenaries, and people with no home. Jace had been there once before, years ago, back then. It was just a place to get parts, maybe a drink. Now it was his only hope. He had no safe planet left, no allies, and no answers. Only one mission: protect the baby sleeping quietly in the storage pod. Nova was bundled in cloth, hidden deep, her glow barely seen through the cracks. But even in sleep, she affected the ship. Panels lit up without reason. Doors opened before he touched them. She wasn't just powerful, she was changing everything around her. As the ship docked, Jace took a deep breath. He had told the station AI he was a parts runner with a damaged drive. It was a half-truth, but the kind of lie Arcan welcomed. Nobody here cared who you were, unless someone paid them to care. He carried Nova in a locked crate, small and dark, with breathing holes cut inside. It wasn't ideal, but he had no choice. Too many eyes watched the docking bay, too many scanners that might see too much. He stepped into the station's main hall, massive, loud, full of strange languages and smells. Vendors shouted, lights flickered, and guards leaned against walls, pretending to be bored. But Jace knew better. Some were watching him already. He felt it in his spine, the quiet pull of unwanted attention. He made his way through the crowd. Moving fast, his goal was level 9 and old. Hidden corner of the station where he once met a contact. The contact had vanished long ago, but the storage room there still worked. He needed a few hours of safety, just to think, just a plan. He was almost at the elevator when the crowd shifted. 3 men in red coats stepped into his path. No badges, no weapons out, but their eyes were sharp. Cold, hungry. "Hey there." Traveler one said, blocking his way. "What's in the box?" Jace didn't stop. "Broken sensor parts. Urgent delivery," he muttered. The man stepped closer, smiling. "Open it." "Just a peek?" "I don't think so," Jace said. Voice low, the second man reached for the crate. Jace dropped the box to the floor gently and pulled out a small device from his jacket. It looked like a scanner, but it was a flash pulse. He triggered it. The light burst was blinding. The redcoats staggered back, eyes burning. Jace scooped up the crate and ran, pushing through the crowd. Shouts rose behind him, footsteps followed. The station turned hostile in seconds. He dodged down a cargo hallway, heart racing. Bullets hit the walls around him, stun shots, designed to bring him down without killing him, but Jace had been in worse. He slid behind a fuel drum and fired his blaster twice. One attacker dropped. The other spread out. Nova began to cry. The first real cry since he'd met her, but it wasn't loud, it was deep. Shaking the air, lights flickered, alarms triggered. Walls hummed like something ancient had been awakened. The attackers hesitated, staring around as sparks flew from the ceiling. "What is this?" One of them yelled. Jace didn't wait. He ran, turned left, then right. Then down into a forgotten service tunnel. Old pipes, dripping water. Mold on the walls, but no cameras, no sensors, no guards. He stopped at a sealed door and slammed his palm on the manual lock. It creaked open with a groan, revealing a dusty room full of broken furniture. He kicked aside a rusted chair and placed the crate on the floor. Nova had stopped crying, her violet eyes glowing faintly in the dark. He opened the crate and lifted her out. Holding her close to his chest, "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I should have known they'd come." A screen on the wall blinked, static at first. Then a voice unknown. "Filtered, artificial, Jace Rennick, mechanic. Former Earthside Tech Cores, you are in possession of stolen technology." He stepped back, gun raised. "Who are you?" The voice didn't answer. Instead, the screen showed a face metallic sharp hide, not quite human. "You cannot protect her," the voice said. "She belongs to the architects," Jace growled. "She belongs to no one." He fired at the screen, shattering it into sparks. Then held Nova close again. He had no more time. Whoever the architects were, they knew his name, his face, his past. But they didn't know one thing. They didn't know what Nova could do when cornered. And they didn't know Jace wasn't running anymore. He tapped into the station's lower network, found a path through the vents. He'd take her to the underdeck. There was a shipyard there, full of old hulls and forgotten engines, if he could fix one. He'd be gone before the redcoats circled back. He looked down at Nova, her eyes now closed, face calm. But the lights above her were still pulsing softly gold, silver blue, like the heartbeat of a star. Asterisk Jace stood in the shadows of Archon's lower shipyard. Old vessels lay scattered like skeletons, covered in dust and spider cables. No one came down here unless they were hiding or dying. It was perfect for what he needed: time, cover, and scrap his three oldest friends. He had found an old mining freighter with half a hull. The engines were broken, the AI was fried, and the fuel cells were leaking, but Jace didn't care. He wasn't building something to fly. Not yet. He was building something to fight. Nova slept nearby, wrapped in soft cloth. He placed her inside a repurposed cryobed with a small energy shield. Not to freeze hers, to protect her from shock, sound, and dust. She'd be safe in there, even if the walls fell down around her. Jace glanced at her every few minutes. She never made a sound. But her glow lit the space like a calm star, and it gave him courage. Jace worked non-stop. Welder sparked, wires hissed, and armor plating was reshaped by his bare hands. He rigged power coils to old fuel rods, stripped targeting systems from a wrecked patrol ship. He turned broken mining bots into mobile turrets. Each piece of junk became a weapon. Every bolt became a promise. "I've run enough," he muttered. "Let them come." Hours passed. Maybe more. The station above was quiet. But the air felt wrong, heavy. Jace knew it was the kind of silence that came before the storm. And then footsteps. He peered through the crack in the hatch. 6, maybe 7 of them. Redcoats, masks, black rifles with stun-charged silencers, moving like wolves. Careful, sure. They knew he was here, and they wanted the girl. Jace triggered his first trap. A mining cart shot across the corridor, slamming into 2 men before they could react. A ceiling panel exploded, raining down sparks and steel. Target located. One shouted, "Engage with caution, priority is the child." Jace stepped out with a modified pulse rifle and fired without warning. A red coat flew back, crashing into a power wall. Another tried to flank, but Jace activated a pressure plate. The floor exploded beneath the attacker, dropping him into an old ventilation shaft. They kept coming, too well trained to panic, too quiet to shout. But Jace had turned the entire yard into a battlefield. Each corridor was a maze of traps, alarms, auto turrets, and fallback positions. He fell back toward Nova's chamber, breathing heavy, bleeding from a cut on his shoulder. 3 attackers left fast, silent and angry. One of them fired an EMP grenade into the room. Lights blinked, systems shorted. Jace dove in front of Nova's shield, covering her with his body. But the shield didn't fail. Instead, it pulsed bright and strong, pushing back the blast with a wave of golden light. One attacker screamed and fell. Clutching his head, the other two stopped cold. Nova was floating only slightly. Her eyes were open, glowing with deep, soft energy. She reached out one tiny hand toward the attackers, and the air changed. Their guns melted, the lights turned blue and warm. Even the dust in the air began to swirl gently, like caught in a soft dream. One attacker dropped his weapon and stepped back. I can feel her, he whispered. She's not just a child. The other shook his head violently and reached for a backup blade. But Jace moved first. He tackled the last attacker. Slammed him into the wall. No more, Jace growled. You don't get to hurt her. Not now, not ever. He tied the two survivors with shock cuffs taken from their own belts. Then looked back at Nova, still floating gently. Her light fading as she fell asleep again. Jace caught her in his arms, his breath shaking. You're amazing, he whispered, but you shouldn't have to save me. He sat down beside the cryo bed. Holding her close, the entire yard was filled with soft golden light. Fading slowly, he had one for now, but it wasn't just a win. It was a message. They had come for her. Armed and sure, and left defeated, broken, changed. Nova didn't destroy them. She awakened something inside them. Even the worst men felt it. She wasn't just powerful, she was pure. Jace leaned back against the wall. Blood dried on his arms, but he didn't care. For the first time in weeks. He felt calm, she was safe, and he had held his ground. He wasn't just a mechanic anymore, he was her shield. The lights in the shipyard had gone dim. Sparks still blinked from broken panels, and the air smelled like burnt wires and ozone. Jace sat with Nova in his arms, his back against a steel wall. His hands were scratched, his body was sore. But his heart was full. She slept quietly now, safe, peaceful. Glowing with a soft, silver warmth, the storm had passed, for now. But Jace knew this was not the end. The galaxy had seen her, and it would come again. He stood slowly and moved toward the control station. He tapped into the station's emergency network. No security response, no redcoat backup, nothing. Either they had pulled back or they were regrouping. Then a message appeared on the cracked monitor. A signal from a private channel. He didn't recognize the code. He almost ignored it, but something told him to open it. He pressed the button. The screen flickered. And an old alien man appeared. He wore ceremonial robes with strange pattern symbols Jace had never seen. But the man's eyes were kind, and behind him stood others, different species. Different colors, all watching. The man spoke slowly. His voice soft like wind through trees. Human, he said. You carry something precious. Jace stared, confused. Who are you? He asked. The man smiled. We are the Council of the Divided Star. Long ago, we believed a child would come, born of two worlds. To end the pain we caused each other, Jace shook his head. I didn't ask for this. I didn't sign up for some prophecy. The old man nodded. No, you didn't, but you chose her. When others would have turned away, Jace looked down at Nova, still resting in his arms. Her tiny fingers moved as if dreaming. Why me? He whispered, I'm nobody. The alien leader's eyes grew serious. You're not nobody, he said. You are the bridge because you chose love over fear. You did not need to understand her to protect her. That makes you worthy. Before Jace could reply, the image flickered again. Another voice broke through a darker one. Mechanical, sharp, cold. She is not yours, it said. She belongs to the architects. You are a thief. Jace stood tall now. Eyes hard, she's not a thing, he said. She's a child, my child. Suddenly, power surged across the shipyard. The lights burst back on, systems rebooted. Screens blinked with foreign code. Nova opened her eyes, glowing brighter than ever before. Her body floated gently from Jace's arms and hovered just above the floor. Everyone and every screen in every ship near the station could see her now. She was small, innocent, radiant, but her presence shook the space around her like a rising sun. She looked at Jace with eyes full of light and trust. Then she reached out her hands, and the machines around her stopped humming. The cracked screens healed, the fire-scorched panels cooled. The wounded lights turned warm and gold. And then she spoke, only one word, soft but strong. Peace. It echoed across every open channel, translated in every language, felt in every heart. The redcoats aboard the incoming ship stopped their approach. Their commander dropped his weapon and removed his helmet. Tears streamed down his face. He had lost a child once, and in Nova's voice, he heard that child again, across the stars. Governments paused. Leaders silenced their advisors. The architects, those who built weapons, not bridges, went quiet, because one small child had shown them something they forgot. Hope. Jace pulled her close again, his voice trembling. You don't need to save the galaxy, he whispered. Just be you. Nova rested her head against his chest, and the glow dimmed to a soft, steady hum like a heartbeat shared by both father and daughter. The council on the screen spoke once more. We will protect her, the old man said. With your permission, Jace nodded slowly. But I stay with her, he said. Always, the old man bowed. It would be an honor, human, that day. History was rewritten not by generals or kings, but by a tired mechanic, a dying mother's last wish, and a child born of two worlds.